Technology in Action, Chapter 4. So this chapter is going to be all about software. Alright, and the first question always is, what is software? So software is a set of instructions that tell the computer what to do. Alright, and it is a very, very, very specific set of instructions. Alright, the software doesn't just say, open the can of peanut butter. No, it says, pull the peanut butter out of the cabinet, grab a hold of the lid, rotate the lid while squeezing counterclockwise. 3 rotations, lift while lifting vertically. Those types of things. All right, it's when you try to give a computer instructions, you have to be extremely precise with those instructions, because all it does is what you tell it to do. If you don't tell it to do something, it is not going to do it. All right. All software is going to fall into 2 broad categories. All right, we're going to either have application software, which is used to do tasks at home, school, and work, and then we have system software, which helps run the computer and coordinates instructions between application software and the computer's hardware devices. Some examples of system software would be like Task Manager, File Explorer, System Restore, those types of things that are making your computer actually capable of running. Application software, some examples would be Word, Web Browser, Outlook, Steam, Robot Studio, whatever it is that is a specific application. It has nothing to do with your computer actually running, but it has more to do with you accomplishing some sort of task in the long run. Now, there are some basics. So, we have 2 of those 2 categories. Well, let's go back a step. When you get software, it falls in, you have 2 options. You can either go with the proprietary option, which is software created by companies for profit and then sold to you, or you can go the open source option, which is software that is available free of charge and with fewer licensing and copyright restrictions. All right. Now, not all proprietary software has a fee associated with it, but most of them do. All right, some examples of some proprietary. You would have Photoshop, Microsoft Office, Windows, Mac OS. All right, where some open source, you would have OpenOffice, you have Firefox, GIMP, VLC, Blender, and most Linux installs. All right, so Mac and Windows are going to be proprietary. Most Linux are going to be open source. Not all of them. There are a few Linux that have some that are paid and whatnot, but most of them are going to be. All right. Now, when it comes to installing your software or distributing software, there's 3 different options for distribution. You have a local install, which is you got a DVD, you install it, and it's on your computer. All right. You have software as a service, which means the vendor is hosting the software on some server and you're going to access it via the internet. All right. Let's go back to the local. So, local install. Most of the time, this is going to be a one-time fee. You're going to buy it. You're going to own that software for life. And I'm going to put own there in quotes. We're going to come back to that one on the next slide. But you own that software for life. All right. You don't need internet access unless you want to update it. All right. So if some security patch comes out that they go, oh crap, we realize that this is giving all your passwords out. Here's an update to protect you from doing that. You don't need it unless you're going to do that. All right. You may get a CD or DVD for installing this, or it could be a download from the internet. All right. Software as a service, on the other hand, I said it's going to be located on a server on the internet somewhere. All right. So luckily, that means that if you want to use this type of software, you are going to need some sort of internet access. All right. However, you don't actually have to install anything on your computer. All you do is go to the website and you are good to go. The other benefit to a software as a service is there's no need for you to upgrade the software yourself. All right. Now, to be fair, most software that you install on your computer does have an automatic upgrade system built into it now, or update system. So basically, you open the software and it goes, hey, we've got an update. Should we install it? You can say yes, and it's done. Overall, that's simple. Some of it will even do it in the background. So as soon as you open the software, you are already running the most up-to-date stuff. All right. An example of some SaaSes would be Google Docs, Office 360. All right, both of those would be software as services, and there are lots and lots and lots of ones out there. There are PCB or circuit board design software. There is like some very light video editing, probably some photo editing, some inks, some design software. So there's a lot of options out there. Often this type of software will be free of charge. All right, not all the time, but often. But it's not going to be as fully featured as the locally installed versions. As we talked about earlier in the semester, Microsoft Office 360, the Word, it does not have all of the same functionalities that the installed on your computer version has, which is why when I told you guys to do your homework, I said you should do this on your computer, not via this online version. Now, at the same point, it has most of the same capabilities, so you're not losing much by using that as a software as a service, but it's something that you do need to keep track of. Your last option for ways to distribute the software is going to be a subscription. Now, this is kind of a middleman between a local install and a SaaS. All right. Now, traditionally, this software is going to be installed on your actual computer. So, when you have your computer with you, in theory, you have the software. All right. However, it still is going to probably need an internet connection to make sure that your license is still valid. Now, why would your license expire? Well, a subscription-based service, you are paying either a monthly or a yearly fee to access that software. So, instead of one-time fee up front as a local install would, a subscription is you're going to be paying every month or year, depending on the system, to use that software. You do get free, I'm going to put that in quote, upgrades. All right, but at the same point, you're still paying every month for it. Most of the time, this software can be used offline. However, there might be a limit to that time. So it might need to be able to access the internet maybe once a week or month or something like that to make sure that your license is still valid. One of the most recent subscriptions, that's probably one of the more popular ones out there right now, is the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite. I actually thought the other month, I was like, you know what, I'm getting to a point in my life, maybe I should go out and buy the Adobe Suite. I use Photoshop when I'm at work and and Illustrator and things like that, and I'm like, maybe it'd be nice to have for my personal life. And I was all ready to go out and buy it and just pay the ridiculous amount of money for it and be done with this. And then I realized that, it's now a subscription, and I went, nope, not going to do that one. So there's some pros and cons here, but something to be aware of. So, local, install on your computer, one-time fee. Subscription, probably install on your computer, not a one-time fee every month or year. And then we have SaaS, which is not installed on your computer and traditionally free or extremely low cost, depending on the system. Now, when it comes to managing your software, all right, first, how are we going to get it? All right, and at this point in the world that we live in, the time of that we are at, most software, I'm going to say, is going to be downloaded from the internet. All right. Now, this is both a wonderful and a horrifying thing. All right. When I download software, I do try to keep a copy of the install somewhere, because there is not much worse than saying, all right, I paid for this software, and then a year later you're like, no, I reinstall my computer, I got a new computer, whatever, like I want to install my new computer, and you can't find the installer anymore. All right. So downloading from the internet is probably how most of the time you are going to get your software anymore. However, DVD is still an option. Now, that does become a problematic if you don't have a DVD drive on your computer. All right, so there's a bit of a give and take going on here. So if you don't have a DVD drive, you can't use a DVD to install software on your computer. Then hopefully you can go and find the install on the internet somewhere, or you get access to a USB DVD drive or something along those lines. Flash drives are, I've not seen anybody mass distributing flash drives for software install yet. I'm not saying it's not coming or it's going to happen, but I haven't seen it happen yet. I think the world just assumes that most people have good enough internet connections that they just can download the software and it makes their life easier. All right. Now, when it comes to getting software or purchasing software, and some software can be really expensive. Um, I, I don't even want to know what AutoCAD cost companies for the years. It can be really stupid expensive at some point. Now, luckily, there are student discounts often for specific softwares while they are students for the purpose of doing education-related things. All right, you're probably not supposed to be using software with a student license for commercial purposes, but something to think about. AutoCAD, that's all I didn't want to think about it, but it costs a company per license roughly $1,680 per year to use. Now that is something that we are using in classes at HCC. So it's, if students want to work on stuff at home, that's kind of ridiculous. That costs probably more than the tuition they're paying for that class specifically, if not all the classes they're taking. Now, luckily, the student discount for that is almost the five-finger discount, basically. I mean, you're not stealing it, but you do get it for free. But again, there is that. It is for the purpose of education. You're not supposed to get the student version of it and then go out and start making a business using that student version. So there are some restrictions when it comes to these student discounts, but something that you want to think about. Another option is freeware, and freeware is copyrighted software that you do not actually have to pay for. All right, and there are a lot of these freewares out there. Google Chrome is an example of that. It is free, anyone can use it, but it is not open source. All right, so we can't go dive down deep into the code, at least as far as I know. Firefox, on the other hand, would be open source software where it is free and you can get the source code for it if you want. Some other freeware examples are Avast Antivirus, which used to be one of the big antivirus softwares out there. CC Cleaner is another antivirus adware software. Skype, another good option. Depending on what you're trying to do, a trial may be good enough. All right, and if there is a trial of the software, I do highly suggest that you use the trial before you buy. All right, because the trials let you use the software. Sometimes the trial version is, you have 30 days of using the software and you get the full professional version of the software that has everything that you could ever want on it. And sometimes the trials are, well, you get 30 days, but it's going to be restrictive, or you get unlimited of it, but you only can, use it for 5 minutes at a shot before it exits out on you because they think, oh, you're going to have enough time to play around with the software, but we want to give you as long as you want to play with it to try to figure out if this software is going to do your purposes. So I was trying to do these recordings with a trial software, and I only got 5-minute recordings out of it at a shot. That would become really annoying. We would already be on recording number 3 for this, and soon we would be on to number 4. So there's a lot of give and take here, but trials are a great way for you to try software out before you actually go out and buy it. Now, kind of before we even get to software, before software is mass produced or mass marketed, whatever you want to call it, traditionally most companies are going to do a beta version. And actually before beta there's even an alpha version, but we're just going to start with the beta version. Beta version is a trial version, or sometimes it's the actual version of the software, and it's out there to help the company debug its software. All right, I can write code for something, and if I use it once a day for 365 days, I may never see any problems with it. Where if I write code for something and I have 10,000 people using it 10 times a day for a year, there may be all sorts of other problems that are going to pop up related to that I would never know otherwise. So companies release this beta software. It's kind of like the before the release beta. All right. Traditionally, the stability is going to be questionable, is what it comes down to, depending on how far they are in the beta process. In the very early days of beta, if you're day 1 on the beta trial, it could crash on you every other second or every other minute. Where if you're in the beta trial of it and it's like 3 days before release, they've probably ironed out basically all the bugs, but they're still just checking, doing their last checks to see if there are any other problems that they missed. So a little bit of give and take there. This may have features that aren't in the stable version yet or the stable release yet. So just because software has been out there for ages doesn't mean there's still not a beta version of it out there. Companies are constantly improving and updating and grading and changing and whatever their software, so that way they can keep it relevant and keep you using it. So you have the current release, which would be the stable version, then there's the beta version, which is the next release that they're now testing. So it could have extra features, or it could just be a software a security update, whatever it is. Traditionally, there's going to be some features in there in the beta version that aren't in the stable yet. The last beta release prior to the actual release of the software is going to be referred to as the gold version. All right, this is the stuff that is all, in theory, all the bugs have been ironed out, everything works perfectly. They're just doing that last kind of final check to make sure that everything is going to work. All right, now when it comes to using software on your computer, the biggest question is, what are the system requirements? So if we go ahead and take a look here, we have the Chrome browser system requirements. So you can see on Windows, you need to have Windows 7, 8, 8.1, 10 or later. You need at least an Intel Pentium 4 processor or later that's SSE2 capable. No clue what the SSE2 is. All right. This one doesn't list amount of RAM or processor speed or anything like that. You can see the same thing with Mac and Linux. They've got the different options there. If we go to Photoshop, now this one's got a lot more detail. It's telling us we need to have a 2 gigahertz or faster processor with 64-bit support. They do have little asterisks there saying, hey, you might need to come down here. All right, it says cloud documents are not supported on Windows 7. All right, operating system, they're telling you how much RAM you need and how much they actually recommend. Graphics card, hard drive, monitor. So there can be a lot of system requirements that your software will need. It's very important to make sure that everything you have is there. All right. Now, when it comes to installing your software, there are two options. Sometimes you get one option to install the software, and that would probably be a full installation. And this is going to copy all of the most commonly used files to your hard drive. As an alternative, some software has the custom installation route. And some actually has a third one, it's like minimum install. So you have full, you have custom, you have minimum. All right, so minimum is going to install the bare necessities for the software to work. Custom allows you to decide which features you actually want to install. And that could be like, yes, I want the manual installed on my computer. Use that hard drive space. All right. Or for example, with Microsoft Office, when you do a custom install, you can say, I want to install Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. I don't need Outlook or Access. So there's a bit of give and take going on here when it comes to installations. Oftentimes, you also have the option to pick where you're installing it, and I always suggest to install it in your program files folder. So, personal opinion there. Uninstalling software. It's gotten pretty easy. On a Mac, actually, I think you just grab the application, drag it to the recycling bin. On Windows, you can right-click on software now and say uninstall, and it pops up the uninstall screen that gives you a list of all your software. So you can go ahead and do that. Let's just go ahead and uninstall, add or remove programs is what Windows calls it now. But they gotten to a point where you can just see, and you can come right through and you can click and then you just say uninstall and you are good to go. All right. Now, all right, so recovery drive. So I highly suggest that you have some sort of recovery drive. Now, a lot of computers do have this from factory. If you bought your computer and you didn't build it, there's a small partition on your computer that contains all the information needed to reinstall your operating system if it should become corrupt. All right. This is a specific utility on your computers that you can use to create this. All right. So like HP used to have their own, all those other fun things. This could be a CD, it could be a DVD, it could be a specific portion of your hard drive that is formatted off. All right. Those types of things. So you want to have some sort of recovery system set up because your computer is going to crash at some point. All right, and there are a few ways to recover from crashes. Some of them will attempt to repair your computer. Some of them will reset it back to factory. All right. However, my favorite one is the restore option. All right, as I have up here as bullet 2, create a restore point. All right, and what the restore point does is it allows you to bring your computer back to a specific point in time. All right. So here I have a system restore window shown, and you can see that there are 6 different restore points that were created over the span of, I don't know, about what, 2 weeks thereabouts. All right, and you can see was this from my computer? Must have been a screenshot at some point. But as you can see, yeah, you can do Windows updates. So every time Windows Update installed, there was a restore point created, and this does say it's a critical update. When I installed Mission Planner, you can see that it says it was just an install for software and whatnot. But basically, this allows you to go back in time and undo all of those changes that you just made to your computer if your computer starts having problems because of that. Now, I have used this not because of Mission Planner being a problem, but because of whatever the problem was. Something was causing me an issue, and I said, let's just try to do a restore. This could be from drivers, it could be from bad software, it could be you deleted a file by accident. All right. The system restore is a very powerful way to bring your computer back in time and save you from having a hassle at that point. All right. Now, when it comes to software, upgrading versus updating. All right, and what is the difference? So, updating is tweaking the software. Now, that could be security reasons, that could be feature updates. All right, where upgrading most of the time is buying new software. It's buying the newest version. All right, it's like going from Windows 7 to Windows 8 or 10. All right, if you want to stick with Windows 7, which is not being supported anymore by Windows, if I remember correctly, they were constantly outputting security updates. All right, so you were updating Windows. However, when Windows 10 came out, Windows 10 was a free update from 7, but when Windows 8 came out, if you wanted to upgrade to Windows 8, you had to go out, pay for that capability. All right, even though it's Windows and you already own it, they're basically saying this is new software. So if you want this new software, you have to buy it. All right, oftentimes you don't get to upgrade for free from one version to the other. Sometimes they will let you, all right, because they're like, you got one update or upgrade, so you can, if we're on 7 now, you can go to 8 for free type of thing. But it doesn't always happen, all right. And the big question here is cost, right? If you have to pay for it, is it worth it? All right. There's no need to rush out and buy the latest version of a software program every time one is available. All right. If what you're still using works, then stick with it. Don't upgrade. If you're running with Adobe CS6 at home, you bought it before they went to the subscription service, and that still works for you, you're fine. Don't go to the subscription service and have to pay every month to use Adobe. All right. So it is one of those things that you do need to contemplate. However, SaaSes, or remember, software as a service, you do not have to update. You do not have to upgrade. They're going to just do that in the background for you. And that is both a wonderful thing and a absolutely horrifying thing at the same time, because if you log on there expecting to see Microsoft Office Word from a year ago and you log on, you're like, I don't know how to use this. What is this? It's the new version of Word. It's going to cause you problems. So that is something that you do need to think about. All right. Sometimes in between upgrades, developers will make available software updates called software patches. All right. So just another one of those things that you want to think about. Now, licensing for software. All right. Every time you install software, most people just click through. Yes, okay, accept, whatever. All right, and they don't read anything until the software is installed and they're happy. Something that you do need to be aware of, all right, is the End User License Agreement, the EULA. And this is an agreement between you, the end user, and the software company. All right, and this overall states 3 things. Who is the ultimate owner of the software? Are you the ultimate owner, or is the company the ultimate owner? Most likely, you are not an owner of the software. All right. Most of the time, when you buy software, the EULA says that You do not own it, all right? You just have a license that gives you the right to use the software for your own purpose, all right? You're not actually buying the software, you're buying access to the software, all right? In theory, if you bought the software, you could resell the software. And most of the times that is not part of the EULA, is you cannot sell the software in any means, whether that's I'm done with my version, I can sell it to my friend, or you making slight tweaks to it and selling it, or you just saying making a copy of the DVD and selling it. So something that you need to think of. The EULA also states how many copies you're allowed. Can you have it installed on 1 computer, 10 computers, 5 computers, at your household, across households, those types of things. Are you allowed to copy the software and give it to someone else? All right. It also tells you what warranties you have, or what comes with any, if any. All right. Not always is that going to be the case. All right. When you are working with open source licenses and you're redistributing modified open source software with the same terms as the original software, that is known as copyleft. All right. Now, oftentimes when you hear about licenses for software, you'll hear a local, or you might hear a floating. All right. And what a floating is, you might also call it a seat license, or a floating license, or concurrent. All right, is floating or concurrent basically says you have 12 copies of the software. You can have the software installed on as many computers as you like, as long as only 12 people are using it at once. Most of the time, this floating license, you're going to have a license server somewhere that people are going to be accessing. And so when they need it, they log on, they open the software, it automatically goes to that server, it grabs the license, says, okay, this is saved for this person at this IP address. They use that until they're done, and then when they close the software, it sends the license back to the license server. So this allows a large company who many people need the software, but very few are going to be using it at the same time, to save on costs. All right, because if I have 10,000 people that all need access to Microsoft Word at the same time, I need 10,000 licenses. But if I have 10,000 people, but only half of them ever work at the exact same time, then I in theory only need 5,000 licenses. All right. You also have a seat license, and this is the total number of installs using one license number. So if you have one license number, you might have 5 seats for that. And again, same idea, but you just use the same license number instead of having to have 5 different license numbers to keep track of. And that's what IT likes. They like not having to keep track of all the different license numbers. They prefer to have one license number that has multiple seats when possible. Now we are getting into different types of software. All right. So first we have Office software. All right. And this is going to let you perform various tasks required at home, school, and businesses. All right. There are proprietary versions. We have Microsoft Office and Apple iWork. You have open source versions called LibreOffice, or I believe OpenOffice is also another one. And then you have web-based, or remember the SaaS, which you have Microsoft Office 360, you have Google Docs. I'm sure there are other versions of this out there. Now, as part of the Office software, you normally have some sort of word processing. All right. We're going to use this for creating and editing documents such as research papers, resumes, letters, agendas. Basically, if it's just straight text, or even text with some slight formatting and having a picture or whatnot here and there, the word processing option is going to be what you want. All right. Some program examples: Microsoft Word, Google Doc. All right. The open source version is Writer. All right. So there are lots of different options out there. You all should be pretty much experts with this. I mean, after having spent like 3 weeks or something working with, or three chapters of dealing with Microsoft Word. Maybe not experts, but you should be getting pretty good with it by now. Next, we have Spreadsheet software. All right, this is going to perform calculations and numerical analysis. All right, so you have some different data types. You can have some just straight up text. You can do values. You can do formulas. You can do functions. All right. What I have going on here on the right is just a spreadsheet tracking gas mileage that I have for my one car. All right. So You can see the date, you can see how many gallons of gas I put in, what the mileage for that trip was, the total mileage of the car, the predicted MPG, this is what the car claimed the MPG was going to be. And then I have calculating the actual MPG, so there's my formula starting to kick in. I have a percent difference at the end. You can see my average gallons of gas that I put in it and every trip, my average mileage per that, my predicted MPG average, my actual MPG average, and I have the average or the percent difference between those two. So, yeah, the car claims it's going to get 28.5 on average. Actually, I think it's a little lower than that if you look at the entire lifespan of the car. And as you can see, I'm missing a few formulas. But it's actually getting like 27, so that's pretty good overall. But yeah, so you can use formulas, and this is just very simple formulas. You can get extremely complex equations and whatnot going on here. So Microsoft version would be Excel. What I have over here is the Google Sheet version. And LibreOffice, the open source one, is called Calc. All right, so lots of options out there. Very powerful software, and again, you guys should be pretty decent with this by now. Presentation software. All right, we're using it to create a presentation like you are watching right now. So a few tips for designing good presentations: keep it simple. Don't go overly complicated. Just keep it simple. You don't want to go with all these fancy animations and things like that that are going to detract, going to get on people's nerves and bother them and things like that. So keep it simple. Don't have too many bullets per slide because, again, that's a lot of text on the screen, and you want to keep the amount of text in each bullet to a minimum. You want to keep your fonts on the larger side so that way people can actually read it. Now, this video obviously is being made to be watched on your phone or computer or whatnot. So if you're doing it on your phone, the text could get kind of small, so I tried to keep it bigger still. Where if you're watching on your computer screen, the text might seem a little overly large. Anytime you're using a projector, font always, in my opinion, ends up being smaller than you want it to be. You're like, oh, it's going to be on this 8-foot screen, it'll be plenty big, and then you get there and you're like, oh man, people in the back of the room can't read that. So be careful there. Don't just read off your slides. I know I basically read that last bullet from my slide, but don't do it. All right. It gets really annoying real quick, and then people start zoning off because they're like, well, why is the point of this presentation if all they're going to do is read the slide itself? All right. Database software. All right. Oh, let's go back. So, Google's version of this is Google Slides, PowerPoint obviously here. I don't know what the open source one is called. Database software, this would be Microsoft Access. You also have MySQL, you have Oracle. There's a lot of database softwares out there. All right, it is a very powerful that lets you store and organize data. Yes, this may kind of seem pretty close to Excel, and to some extent, yeah, it is. All right. However, this is really more meant for managing the data than processing the data. What we have over here on the right side of the screen, the picture, you can see it's a first name, last name, company, street, city, state, zip code. So it's people's addresses, or fake addresses, I hope. And you have fields, you have records, and then you have a table. All right. So the field is a specific column, a record is a specific row, and a table is a group of related records. So in this case, street addresses. So that'd be the table itself. The field would be, say, first names, and the record would be specific to Douglas Seaver. All right. So how are databases used? They're used to keep track of products. They're used to keep track of clients, invoices, personal information. The list kind of goes on and on and on. So can you do this overall with Excel? Yes, but there's some specialized tools in database software that makes it a bit more powerful. Note-taking. All right, I'd say overall this is on the newer side. I mean, it's still been around for years, but the note-taking options is on the newer side of the productivity software. All right. With everybody wanting to go to the digital world, someone said, well, if we're going to go digital, we need to get rid of notebooks. How do we get rid of notebooks? Well, we need note-taking software. And that would be of the OneNote variety from Microsoft. All right. Now, Microsoft, you can type in it, you can put pictures, you can draw, you can do all sorts of things with it. And they truly are trying to replace the notebook. They even let you pick the color of the cover. Oh man, isn't that fancy? All right. OneNote is Microsoft. We also have Evernote, Notability, Simply Note. There is a lot of options out there. You can do different tabs and all sorts of other crazy things like that. I don't, in my opinion, this hasn't taken off yet. I think too many people like handwriting notes down. There's also been some studies showing that handwriting notes, I believe, is actually better than typing your notes. It's more likely to retain it if you write it out by hand than if you type it. Just like you're more likely to retain something if you read it in an actual book versus an e-text. So a little bit of back and forth going on there. Personal Information Manager, all right, also known as Outlook, all right, or other web-based varieties, all right. So personal information. What personal information might you have? Well, you have email, all right. You have your contacts, you have your calendars, you have tasks, all right, and there are other things. So as you can see, Outlook is trying to do it all. You've got a to-do bar on the right, also probably your tasks. You've got calendar option down here. You've got your contact book, all right, and your email. Now, email and contacts, those things go hand in hand to me. The calendar, that is definitely like an add-on. It's like one step farther, all right. And there are lots of web-based varieties of this. Google has one, Yahoo has one. Basically, I'd assume any email provider basically has one. All right. Toodledo, Toodledo, is a free program that coordinates well with Microsoft Office, or Microsoft Outlook, and OmniFocus is a more fully featured option for Mac devices. All right. And the big question here is the web-based versus computer. Do you want a SaaS version or do you want down here on the computer? All right. When it comes to my emails, I like having on the computer. I find that to be a nicer way to be dealing with them. I find the software to be a little bit easier to work with. Now, when I'm away from a computer or away from my home computer, I like having that software SaaS option, the web-based stuff, as a backup. Features of software. You have wizards, you have templates, and you have macros. All right. A wizard is something that's going to walk you through the necessary steps to complete a task. All right. Kind of like the first time you save a document. When you do file save, it says where do you want to save it to. You have that in Word. You have three options. You have OneDrive. You have other locations. You have browse. You have recent. Whatever the options are, you click. And it kind of walks you through step by step for how to do something. All right. Templates is a pre-designed form, and I've pushed this for you guys for using a Word or PowerPoint or things like that. A template is a time saver. All right. Your company may have special templates specific to their companies, to your company, that will always put the header or whatever in the Word document, so that way it always has their company name, or the PowerPoint it might always have the company name in the bottom corner or something like that, and text that's large enough and things like that. So templates will save you a lot of time in the long run. They may take some time to do the original setup for them, but in the long run they're going to save you a lot of time. All right. Now, macros is something that many of you may have not heard of, and it is actually something that is built into Microsoft Office as well as a whole bunch of other things. Macro is a small program that groups a series of commands. All right. There are some programs that will do macro shortcuts for your keyboard. So if you're always doing the same task over and over again, I have a macro on my keyboard that puts my monitors to sleep. So it, basically it's like the screensaver happening and the screensaver timing out. We just go into black screens. I have a button on my keyboard I can press that just goes black screens and it turns them off for power saving purposes. All right. So it's just a group of commands. Now there could be one command, it could be 10 commands. It all depends on what you're trying to do and how often you do it. All right. Some macros might be used to sort grades in your grade book with descending order and highlight the grades that add up to less than a C average. So that way a teacher can see very quickly who's having problems in their class. And it could be, it highlights just the average, or it could highlight any grade less than a C. So very simple, something you might do in Excel. All right. Macro could also just be a combination of different keys. So if you often do Control-Alt-Shift F6 or something, you could have a macro button that would press that. So with one button press, instead of having to Control-Alt-Shift F6, you can just press one button. And this is truly designed as a time saver. We have personal finance software, all right, or financial planning software. This is going to help you manage your daily software, your daily finance, all right, daily, monthly, yearly, all right, depending on the software. And there are all sorts of different options out there. QuickBooks is probably one of the more popular ones, all right. Some financial planning software does include electronic checkbooks, registers, or automatic bill payment tools. All right, and you could do things for like recurring monthly payments. So if you know your cable bill is always going to be the same price, you can set it up so it automatically sends a check out for that every month. Or if you or for your rent or student loans, those types of things. All right. And there's some that is just financial planning. So you're like, this is my budget for the month, and help you keep track of how much you spent on groceries versus going out to eat versus gas versus whatever else. So that, again, you can keep track of your finances and make sure that you are living within your means. There's also tax prep software. All right. You all should have gone through this by now. And however, the government, I believe, did this year, 2020, push back the tax due date, so because of the wonderful coronavirus. But anyway, tax prep software, there are some options. Intuit TurboTax, H&R Block, H&R Block, all right. Those are some of the, probably two of the larger names out there, all right. And this software is going to help you prepare your state and federal taxes on your own without having a crazy accounting degree or anything like that. Depending on the situation, there could be a small fee associated with this for you. All right, you're not paying a tax accountant to do it, or whatever the cost that may be, but it may be $100 or something like that. So this is something that you may want to think of. All right, both of those are going to offer tax forms and instructions, as well as videos with expert advice on how to complete each type of form if you go through and look deep enough. All right. Now, if you are gonna, do your own taxes for your company or whatnot, you may want to buy the large version of this, not use the online free version. And unluckily, because tax codes every year change, you have to buy new software. So, it's just one of those wonderful things that you need to think about. Now, there is software designed for small businesses, like accounting software. All right, this is going to help small business owners manage their finances more efficiently by providing tools for tracking receivables and payments, or tracking inventory, things like that. So payroll, billing, basically it's designed for a small business to help them run. All right. Large companies could, in theory, use the small business software if they wanted to. However, most likely they've got some crazy requirements and tax breaks and this and that and whatever else that's going on with their company, that they might have some custom design software built specifically for their needs. All right, and there are large companies out there that will build a specific software for you, as well as some smaller ones. So they're all over the place. All right. Next, we have desktop publishing software, or DTP. If your business requires newsletters, catalogs, annual reports, or other large, complicated publications, you might want to use the desktop publishing software instead of using like Microsoft Word. All right. Depending on how complicated it is, Word will be just fine. All right. But the more complicated it is, the more likely you're going to need a specialty software for that. Adobe's version of this would be InDesign. All right. Or Illustrator, depending on what specifically it is that you are trying to do. All right. Web authoring software allows even a novice to design interesting and interactive web pages without knowing any HTML code. When the internet first came out, if you wanted to have a website up there, you had to manually code everything by hand. All right. That has gone the wayside. So now you can go online, and as a software as a service, you can just make a website in a website, which always kind of like, it's one of those like, I made a website in a website, and how is that now? Was that website made in a website? It's one of those like never-ending rabbit holes type of thing. So there are all sorts of options out there. Squarespace is an online option, those types of things. Often these websites, the software is going to include wizards, templates, and other reference materials to help with the authoring tasks. All right. One other fun side note is Microsoft Word will actually allow you to save your document as a web page. So you could, in theory, design a website in a Word document and then publish that as an HTML file. So I would not suggest it, but it is doable. All right, I've never done it, so I'm not saying it's going to come out well either. There's also other specialized software. Now these are traditionally for the larger markets. So we've talked about CAD a little bit, or computer-aided design. And this is programs that create automated designs, technical drawings, and 3D model visualization. So if you're going to try to design something and build it, you want to see what it's going to look like. You don't want to take the time to manually build it, or you don't have the equipment or whatever to do. You can do it in this small software prior to that. You might also have some home or landscape planning software that helps you visualize what your house will look like with all these different trees and those types of things just hanging around. Again, there are some free versions of CAD software, one of those being SketchUp. All right. You can also look at Table 4.4 in your book. Video and photo. Yeah. All right. So, hey, I'm making a video right now. Not quite using the software they're expecting, but hey, I'm using it. All right. So, image editing software such as Adobe Photoshop and Corel Paint Shop Pro, it can be used to edit videos, or not videos, photos. Change place there. All right. So Photoshop, and this could be used for cropping out backgrounds, doing color corrections, adding other funky things to it. If you want to see an alien flying in the background, whatever the magical answer is there. Digital video editing software such as Adobe Premiere Pro, Apple's Final Cut Pro is used to refine videos. All right. I am using what's called Camtasia to do these recordings, and it has its own video editing software that goes along with it. So not only does it allow me to capture the screen on my computer, but it also does allow me to then go back and crop and edit and tweak and add text or whatever other fancy things that I want to do with it. Now, can anybody do it? Yeah, anybody can edit videos and photo. Can anyone do it well? Probably not without lots of practice. All right. There is a reason that my videos are overall unedited. All right. These are one takes. I just, record, I ramble, and at the end I go through and I basically cut out any long pauses that I have that I've marked or that I see in the audio file. And I go, okay, there's 10 seconds of audio there that I didn't do anything with. Let me just remove that. So I'm not adding any fancy effects or anything like that. I think it'd be fun to learn how to do, but time-wise is always the question there. And I'm sorry, I know these videos could be a lot better, but this is what I've got. So, drawing software. So it lets you create and edit 2D line-based drawings. You can use it to create technical drawings, or original non-photographic drawings, animations, and illustrations using standard tools. All right, Adobe Illustrator would be the tool for that. If you want to do something open source, you have Inkscape as an option. This is Paint Tool Sat. I don't know actually what this picture is, but basically they're editing that little illustration that they have drawn. All right, and this could be for animation, so you could actually draw one picture, draw another, and keep animating. And there are specific softwares for that, and HTC does have classes for that if that is something that you are interested in. When it comes to audio, all right, there are two very broad categories for all audio files. They are either going to be a compressed file format or uncompressed. Now, some people will say that they can't hear the difference from compressed to uncompressed, from MP3 to a WAV file, and there are some people who say, man, MP3s kill the audio file. Like, there's just so much distortion and missing information, yada yada yada. So really comes down to what your personal preference is there. All right, and audio files includes music, audiobooks, podcasts, all those wonderful things. All right, they may be stored on your computer or on the internet. You may be streaming nowadays. There's all sorts of options there. Video audio workstation software, or DAWs, such as Apple GarageBand, lets you create and record your own audio files. All right, Audacity is a audio editing software that makes audio editing files easy. I don't know how actual easy Audacity is to use, but it is a software that is out there. All right. I also like to point out when it comes to audio, there's also something called MIDI. I don't know what MIDI stands for off the top of my head, but basically it's synthesized music. So you normally have a keyboard, but every time you press a button, you might hear a trumpet play, or a piano, or a trombone, or a bass guitar, or whatever the magical thing is, or clapping, or drums, or whatever. But it's all synthesized, all right? And it's just a bunch of notes. So it's saying, it's not actual audio that's recorded. It is traditionally you using the software to make the audio. All right. Now you might still be playing a piano or something to do the recordings, or pressing random buttons or whatever that you have set for. This button is the clap sound. That's the drum sound. This is the trombone sound. You can press the buttons to then make your audio. So MIDI is another option out there. And last but not least, app creation. All right. It is software or our programming environments that can produce apps that are really ideally for running on mobile devices, at least when we talk about apps. All right. Software, on the other hand, is meant to run more on full-out computers. All right. MIT has created software called App Inventor, which is a web application and Thunkable, and can be used to create functional apps for Android and Apple devices. We also have Corona SDK, which is a free programming environment that has been used to develop games and business apps. And then you have Unity and RPG Maker, which provide the tools you need to explore game design and creation. So those are a whole bunch of different ways that you can create apps on phones. Down here on the right, you can see a picture of MIT's App Inventor. So you can see that it is a function block, or at least in this view, it's a function block type of thing. So whenever camera 1 after the picture, it does something else. When you press the share picture, it does something else, yada, yada, yada. So and some of these are something that you can do. You can create your own app. It is not that hard. Now, it is that hard to create a good app, but it's not that hard to create an app itself. So just something to think about. All right, that's the end of chapter 4.